Your backyard barbecue has some new RSVPs. Just tap Target. With the grill raring to go, your personal shopper is tackling your same-day delivery order at Target.
Babe, so Bob and Lynn are bringing the kids after all.
Pro tip, you can change your same-day order with a quick text to your shopper.
I'll have her add popsicles.
Ooh, and some sidewalk chalk.
Your shopper texts a thumbs up. You text 5 exclamation points and life is good. Text with a personal shopper and get it all delivered ASAP. Just tap Target.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Life gets easier with great assists, and State Farm is here to dish one your way. Get in touch over the phone or on the app to get the teammate you need. State Farm with the assist. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability and eligibility vary by state.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold! Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
You're listening to Saucepans and Sidesteps. Hello and welcome to a special edition of Saucepans and Sidesteps. Your eyes do not deceive you. I'm just back for today because Hugh's got no friends to talk to. So afternoon, Huw. How are you?
Good afternoon, Lee. What a week, Mike.
I mean,
you know when something's your hobby and then you can't sleep and you think, why am I doing this? You know, that's the kind of week it's been. But what a way to end it.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking through the week, just to put this into context for everyone, that we've been talking through the week about, our kind of, we wanted to put a response out about the Ospreys planning and the crease letter and the fuss that. So we were doing a bit of background digging and a bit of, exploring about what goes on with that. And then I was in the office this morning, and my phone has been red hot all week, as you can imagine. And then it starts going again. Buzz, 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 and I'm like, I've got a deadline. I got to get this done by midday. Oh, my Lord. It was even my boss went, don't worry about that. We can, let's just read the statement, So, yeah, a hell of a way to finish the week, certainly. So we're going to do both. We're going to do both. Let's just put that into context for everyone, because both of them need to be dealt with. So let's start with the negative stuff first. Let's start with the crease. Let's start with crease 16. Let's start by clarifying who crease 16 are, what they do, and
they're not the Judean People's Front. They're the People's Front of Judea.
So
we should say that obviously multiple presenters on the Saucepans and Sidesteps podcast are crease members. I am not, and I never have been. However, many are members of crease.
Yeah, well, I'm still a member of crease, but I'm not on the board or anything like that. So crease 16, they have a seat on the Scarlet's board, but it's the fans representative on the board. And crease 16 is free to join. We've had them on the pod before. They hold a number of events through the year. They'll interview players and coaches and hold those events and that kind of stuff. And they just kind of put the fans' point of view to the Scarlets. Okay. So it's I class it as an arm's length kind of relationship. So earlier this week, I think it was Tuesday, the Ospreys put in that the Ospreys planning permission came up for review in Swansea City Council. And it wasn't an objection, but it was a letter. It was a question. It was a question that was asked in that meeting. So first things first, this is a planning meeting about planning stuff. So it should be, have you thought about traffic? Have you thought about parking? How many people are you expecting? What about noise, times a day? All of that kind of stuff goes into planning. So then Chris put in a letter. Do you want to take that letter from there, Huw? Because you probably spent longer looking at this than me this week.
Yeah, so I don't have a copy of the letter. So there were, from my understanding, from the reading that I have done, there were 4 letters of objection filed at the meeting. 4 were filed in good time in terms of way ahead of the meeting. The timing of the meeting was not new news. It was not a surprise. It's been public knowledge for a long time. And then there were 2 letters of objection filed late. One was from an unnamed individual, and the other was signed by Crease 16, or the Scarlet Supporters Trust, as it's referred to in the meeting. The letter was not read out verbatim, but they said on the letter that the objections were on the grounds of, just got it here, the misuse of public funds, sustainability and development principles, and breaching trust with the taxpayers. So they went in quite late, and it is my understanding that Crease did not consult with their membership before sending this letter in. And in their own statement, which Crease then released 24 hours later, after a considerable amount of fallout on social media from all fans, including Scarlet's fans, or all fans, obviously, as you can imagine, they said that they did not have time between the decision to submit the letter and when it needed to be in by. So the decision to submit it was taken very late in the day. Now, what changed is only speculation. What we do know is that because an identical letter was submitted by an individual, it would suggest that the letter was either supplied to Crease or written in conjunction with this individual. We don't know who that individual was. What makes it then another twist in the tale is that the group of MPs, which is Kevin Campbell from the Synod, also Nia Griffiths, I believe she's Labour, and who is it? Anne Davis from Plaid Cymru, all together requested the Welsh government to intervene in the decision-making process of St Helens. And that happens within hours of the news of the Crease objection coming out. So those 2 things happening roughly at the same time. Again, very late in the day. The word coordination has been thrown around. We don't know that it was coordinated in any way. All we can talk about is the optics of it, and the optics of it is that.
Well, so I kind of work in public funding, so I know that public funding is it's an absolute minefield, and the difference between I work in grants. You've got grants, you've got loans, you've got different types of funding and all that. So the difference between one grant and another grant and a third grant might be completely different. There might be separate reasons, separate justifications, and all of this. So it isn't an easy thing to get your head around. From what I can understand, and I think where the confusion comes from, and I'm going to lay this back at the door of the Ospreys, because this should have been nailed, ironed out, because it is really, really simple to iron out. Yeah, this should have been laid out months ago. You've got the people who were submitting the planning application on behalf of the Ospreys. They say that the money's coming from here. You've then got the Ospreys saying, actually, the money's coming from here. And you've then got Swansea City Council saying, actually, it's coming from here, which might be a little bit of this and a little bit of that, or it might be something else. And that's where the confusion lies. If you go on what the Swansea City Council have said, okay, they've said that it's all coming from internal funding raised by council tax in Swansea City area. There's a difference between Swansea City and the Swansea City deal, or Swansea Bay deal. Okay, those are 2 separate organisations that are apart. That's where the confusion comes from, because the planners said the funding's coming from Swansea Bay City deal. And I think that's what they put in initially. And if it is, that covers the whole of West Wales, including Llanelli, blah, 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 blah. From what I can work out, it's coming from Swansea City, and it will be raised through tax, council tax. Where that gets iffy is there's a level where the amount of debt that an individual council can hold is kind of set on how much revenue you generate, etc. This pushes Swansea right up to that level. So that is an issue for Swansea City to deal. As far as I'm concerned, that's an issue for Swansea City to deal with, and it's a finance issue. I can see why politicians get involved. Absolutely see why politicians get involved, because it's public money, and whether people like it or not, when you're dealing with public money, there is a massive amount of scrutiny. Like you get, I think when the Scarlets did theirs, and the Scarlets one is different because the Scarlets one was a loan. So until that loan is paid off, Parker Scarlets technically is owned by the county council. And they will, if the Scarlets default on that loan, then the county council come and take it back. This would be a grant. So the grant is, here's 5 million, doodle pips, make sure you tick all of these boxes. That's why it's different. That's why politicians got involved. So having said that, I from what I can see from public papers, the only bit that really needs to be answered is there's a statement from Swansea City Council that says this is a conditional offer. I can't find what the conditions are. That's the only bit that might kind of get a little bit wobbly, is where they say this is a conditional offer. Normally, when you have conditional offers, you would publish the guidance that go with it, and you say these are all the conditions for this loan. So in order to get that grant, they've ticked all of these boxes. These are the conditions for that grant. That's normal. I'm guessing that'll be there, but I'll guess it'll be confidential because it's quite a big one. It is quite a big one. So from a technical point of view, yeah, I see why it was asked. From what I can see, it's satisfied, but like you said earlier, it's kind of blown up to be something that it probably didn't need to be.
I think the problem is that for me, so I'll talk about, if I just backtrack a second, not backtrack, if I step back a second, and I'll talk about, so I've presented the facts in terms of what the letters were, how many there were, etc., what happened and where. The motivations for it, the unconfirmed reports are that whereas the initial assumption in terms of the restructuring of how many pro sides there are in Wales, which is still not confirmed officially, however, is widely reported that Wales is going down to 2 regions from 4. The initial assumption had been that the 2 surviving ones would be Cardiff and the Scarlets, and that the Dragons and the Ospreys would be the 2 to go. That had been the assumption, that had what had been spoken about in places, not official in any way, but that's what had been spoken about. However, then more talk emerged at the beginning of the week that actually Dave Reddin, the new director of rugby at the WRU, had decided, oh no, actually, I would like one of the two teams to be in Swansea, because of the 2 biggest cities in Wales, Cardiff and Swansea, should theoretically have one. Same with, going back over the last decade or so, soccer teams, Cardiff and Swansea have been the 2 biggest and things. There is a logic there to that. Obviously, as Scarlets fans, we don't want that to happen. We want to see the Scarlets continue. However, as a podcasting family, we want to see all clubs continue, and we don't want it to turn into an argument about who should and shouldn't continue. When me and Lee were talking about doing this podcast here today, we initially wanted to get someone from the Ospreys pod to come on. Reasons or another, that wasn't able to happen. So if I now give my opinion, I am disappointed that the objection came via Crease, and I think that was wrong. My opinion is that it should have, if the politicians wanted to get involved, that's up to them. I do not live in their constituencies. If they have concerns and things, they have a right to voice it. I suppose that's politics. That's always going to be things like this. It coming from the fans group, the problem for me is that letter having Scarlet Supporters written on it, therefore portrays the message that Scarlet's fans are trying to derail the Ospreys' move to St Helens. That is, I'm a Scarlet's fan, and that is not what I want to do. Crease have a membership, and I think it was wrong for Crease to proceed to do this without consulting the membership. For me, they are representing their members, and the way that I feel that a trust should work is that there is a way of doing things, and this was not the way of doing it. I am not a member of Crease. If I was a member of Crease, if I was on the board of Crease, I would have opposed doing this. I think it was wrong. I think it paints Scarlet's fans in an extremely negative way. And obviously, as we've said, Crease is the Independent Supporters Trust. There is another supporters official group, which is separate. I have seen that supporters group getting abuse on social media from people who think that they are the same as Crease. And I've seen other Scarlets fans getting abuse on social media because people assume that because they're a Scarlets fan, they therefore want this. Whereas in fact, of course, I've seen lots of Scarlets fans who are of a similar opinion to me, where they think that this was wrong. So that's where I stand on it. You know, getting into the politics and side of it, I'll leave that to politicians. Like I said, I don't live in those constituencies. In my opinion, for Scarlet's fans to appear on this letter of objection was not the correct thing to do, in my personal opinion.
And I think it's been a really bad week from a PR point of view, but I think that this all comes down to the way the WRU are handling this process. And personally, I think this comes down to the people at the top of the WRU who are already out of their depth.
That's what I would want to say, is that Scarlet's fans and Ospreys fans having arguments on social media. The WRU, we're obviously rivals anyway, but we've almost become deathly enemies now, and it's the WRU's handling of the process that has created that. So if I could portray any message, I would say the baddies are not the fans of these two teams. The baddies are the WRU, who are looking to shut down a professional team in Wales and therefore alienate an entire fan base or potentially region of Wales. So I would say focus that anger towards the WRU. Yes, I completely agree with you, Lee, that it was a desperate act. You know, desperate times call for desperate measures. It was a desperate act by a body driven by the paranoia and fear created by the WRU.
Yeah. When your back is against the wall and you're told fight to survive, you will fight to survive. You know, you don't sit there and go, is this the right thing to do to fight? Am I going to hurt somebody else to sort of, when you're told, and this is what I believe, you know, I've heard from two separate sources, that someone inside the Scarlets and someone inside Crease, or it got back to them somehow, that someone inside the WRU had said the Scarlets are going. And we can talk as much as we want to talk, we can do all the stuff, but Scarlets are going. Now, when that comes back to you, yeah, maybe your decision-making process and your that cool head thinking isn't there, because you've just been told that everything that you've done for the last 20, 25 years won't be there in 2 years' time. And that cuts to the heart of being a rugby supporter. If that was the other way round, and the Ospreys had been told, don't bother putting that planning permission in, you can withdraw that planning permission, there's no point because you're not playing, you're not going to be there in 2 years' time. You know, they'd be absolutely in uproar, and I'd be supporting them on that as well. So, yeah, it was, I think we're all agreed, it was not a great episode. I get why, but damn it, people, this is the WRU's doing. Yeah, absolutely. Well, yes, it's about reaction, but when you're reacting to something like that, um, it lies with them. And I'm just gonna throw in. Okay, so when this whole thing came out long time ago, when it said we're going to go and listen to people, we're going to be 100% transparent, and the bit we questioned back then was how does the WRU be transparent? What does transparency mean for the WRU? Because so far we've had nothing. So I'm going to say, so if your kids are listening now, I'm going to explain something. Cover your kids' ears now, okay? I'll give you fair warning. This will be about 30 seconds, and I'm going to explain what FOFO means, okay? Hashtag FOFOFO. So, hashtag for or fuck off. That's my message. That's my personal message to the WRU, for or fuck off. That's the way we go forward. So that's when you see that hashtag, that's what that hashtag means. And it's a direct message to the WRU that we're not being listened to as fans, and we want four.
Yeah, the stance of this podcast is that we want the four professional regions as they are to remain as they are. We want them all to be given equal opportunities of success. And I personally refuse to get into an argument about who should go and who should stay. That's not what I'm about.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Absolutely. Right. Let's park that one. I'm sure we're going to get some abuse on that one. Absolutely 100% sure we're going to get some abuse. But let's move on to today's announcement, which was House of Luxury have taken a 55% stake in the Scarlets. So, which, I mean, given where we are, given what we've just spoken about, and then you land that in there and you go, well, how did that happen?
It was a shock, wasn't it? So we're coming at this very fresh.
Very, very, very fresh. Still loads of questions to answer. Loads of questions going on my head.
I've been doing some digging, so I will try and add where I can. So what I'm going to do, Lee, is I'm going to bring up the statement that's been announced, and then we'll read through it, and then we will pause at any moment and consider questions and etc. So here's the statement, and it says, Scarlets announced historic investment partnership with US-based House of Luxury LLC. The Scarlets board is delighted to confirm the club has entered into an agreement for a new strategic partnership with House of Luxury, HOL, and an international luxury asset agency with growing presence in global sport. Under the terms of the proposal, HOL's dedicated sports and entertainment investment division intends to acquire a majority stake in the Scarlets and will assume non-rugby operational leadership in partnership with the current board and be guided with by the club's unique legacy and heritage. So, first thing to say is the word takeover is flying around. The way that it's been described to me is how it's being described here, which is partnership is the word that is being used. Now, it does say that HOL will go on to take over a 55% controlling stake in the Scarlet, so they will be in control. My understanding is that HOL will begin work off-field, which will mainly be around marketing and other off-field activities, non-rugby activities, as of Monday. So the work starts immediately. I understand that the players and staff at the Scarlets were told this today, same day as all of us. There were rumours of new investment into the Scarlets going some weeks back. We didn't know the details of it. This appears to be those details. So, House of Luxury is a US global luxury assets agency behind landmark sales and ultra prime real estate, sport, automotive, and rare collectibles, with a dedicated sports and entertainment division that has confirmed its intention to acquire a 55% controlling stake in the Scarlets. So I think at that point, it's a good time to talk through what I think people's fears would be. And then I'm going to explain why, in my opinion, I don't think I don't think it's so bad. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, the fear is that we've seen this with Cardiff. And with the best will in the world, it did not work out well at all for Cardiff. to take away some of the other issues that are there and just go on, somebody from abroad is coming in to spend a load of cash to buy a club. Okay, they're only buying like you say, it'll be a partnership to start with. So it's probably initially they buy 25% or 33% with an agreement once certain milestones are reached to go up and up, and then they'll get to 55%, which will be their takeover, which is normally how it happens. But yeah, I think everyone in Welsh rugby is feeling a little bit burned by what happened to Cardiff and is a little bit nervous that, you know, the WRU have okayed this and said it's great. Well, they did the same with Cardiff. Somebody's coming in with a load of cash. Well, they said that with Cardiff. They're going to solve all your problems. They said that with Cardiff. So I think that's where the main kind of issue is at the minute.
Yes, and so to respond to that, I fully see those worries, and absolutely they are warranted. My view on it is that there is a difference between House of Luxury and Helford's in terms of we still don't really know what Helford's was or where that money was coming from. Obviously, it didn't come in the end. House of Luxury seems to be a lot more background checkable. And of course, people on social media have been doing the background checks already going on their website. The Scarlets provide a link to their websites. And there are people involved in House of Luxury who we've already heard of in the past. And you can go and check their CVs and things. We'll come on to who those people are in a second. Now, the biggest worry, kind of worst case, I'll talk through the worst case scenario and explain why I don't think that's going to happen. The worst case scenario, the thing that people will be scared of is they see the word assets and they think the Scarlets have got a lovely, great big asset in terms of Parky Scarlets. So they're coming in to get hold of this asset. And then if the Scarlets were to cease to exist, then they would have this lovely asset that they can turn into flats or whatever. Here's why I don't think that's the case. Number one, if you were planning to do that, why would you do it now? Why would you not wait for the Scarlets to cease to exist and then go into Carmarthenshire Council or the WRU or whoever and say, we'll take that lovely asset off your hands for a cut price, please, now that you're not using it. So that number one, why I don't think that is happening. Number two is like I said, the timing, and my understanding is that the big appeal to HOL of the Scarlets was not only the asset, which as a entertainment company they see potential of, and this is something as Scarlets fans we've spoken about plenty of times, is that we feel that Parky Scarlets is underused as a venue. We would like to see concerts happening there. We would like to see it used for other things. So they see potential in it as a venue, and they are very drawn to the strength of the Scarlets brand. I'm told that they see the brand recognition of the Scarlets as being very strong and very marketable, and they see potential there in the brand and the heritage and the history of it. So why would they say those things, and why would they come in now if their intention was to just asset strip, basically? So that's why I don't think that's going to be the case. So continuing on with the statement, the deal agreed in principle with the Scarlets board this week includes HOL leading off-field operational management at the club effective immediately. Like I said, to start work Monday. The club's new partners will take up current financial liabilities and responsibility for commercial growth and future strategic vision, reporting directly to the Scarlets board while working towards full equity transition. So the two important things is that the current Scarlets board is remaining in place. All of the people, John Daniels, Simon Mudrack, all are remaining in situ. And the HOL will be reporting to them, at least initially. They are assuming financial liabilities, and as we go on to read the rest of the statement, that is the main one. It is not confirmed whether this means that the Scarlets will go debt-free. I think what it means is that is going to be the eventual goal, is that HOL will make the Scarlets debt-free, and the phrase that is used later on in the statement is financial stability, which interpreted as the shutting down of the debt, basically. That is how I interpret that, my interpretation. HOL's partnership comes at a pivotal moment for Welsh Rugby Union as the Welsh Rugby Union considers the structure of its professional teams post-2027 with a crucial need for stability and strategic leadership for the region, as the Scarlets will continue to work constructively with the WRU on a structural review. Apparently, the rumours are that the WRU have been positive about this news. I can say no more than that. A lot of people will interpret that very dramatically. I don't know any more than that. The partnership is founded on the Scarlets' rich legacy and driven by ambition to grow the club and safeguard its future. Safeguard its future. David Moffat, former WRU and NZRU CEO, heads HOL's sports and entertainment divisions and brings extensive rugby leadership experience. Obviously, Lee, David Moffat is the big name that people have reacted to in this. So do we want to pause there and explain why people don't like David Moffat?
So David Moffat was head, chief exec, whatever of the WRU for a period of time where there was a lot of upheaval, which, to be honest, you could say that of anyone who was in charge of the WRU. Yeah, but comes with a lot of baggage. In the same as anyone else, you make a load of good decisions, but when you leave with because there's something wrong and something bad's happened, and in the end, the relationship between the WRU and the regions and clubs just kind of broke down. There is a load of baggage that the guy brings on the field and off the field. When Cardiff were taken over and the rumours were that the money were all coming from Saudi and shady dealings in Saudi Arabia. And a couple of us put flags up and went, hang on a second, is this the sort of thing that we want in Welsh rugby? I would say the same kind of caution needs to be applied to David Moffat. His time in New Zealand politics was not a pleasant one. Do we want that kind of person in charge at the Scarlets? So these are the questions that are being bandied around. I'll be honest, I knew a little bit about his time in New Zealand. I didn't go into it in a lot of depth. I've started looking at it today, and yeah, it's not a great track record. I think most people will remember his time in Welsh rugby as just constant. Well, what we're going through now. That was where we were when he was here. It was backbiting. It was every man for themselves. It was unpleasant, and I don't think we want to go back to that. What I'll throw into that is people can change. People can be different. And we've got to judge the guy on what he does when he comes in, assuming that he's, one of the questions that we need to answer or that needs to be answered is who does what now? What?
Yeah. So
where does that control that?
To answer that, my understanding is that contrary to the initial reports, is that David Moffat will not be a director of the Scarlets. David Moffat is the head of HOL's Sports and Entertainment Division, and that means the Scarlets is one of his areas of interests. The directors of the Scarlets reporting to HOL will be the following. Andy Golding, who will be the leading brand strategist in sports, or who is a leading brand strategist in sports. Leanne Batts, innovational lead for New Zealand Rugby and digital sports strategist. And most interestingly, one Daniel Bigger of Gorsainen, formerly of Wales and the Lions, will now be working at or for the Scarlets.
So that was clarified already that's he'll be as an ambassador role more than anything. It'll be
ambassadorial role,
yeah.
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see how that ambassador role happens at that first Scarlet Ospreys derby.
Will we see him wearing a Scarlets jersey?
What shirt is he going to wear? What flag is he flying? Or is he just going to hide?
As this confirms that Gorsainen is in fact a Scarlets playing.
If I
him
was
and Lee
him,
Halfpenny.
I'd be hiding in the toilets, going, "I'm not coming out for 80 minutes." This, even whichever way he goes on that, he can't win. I'll be fitting to the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
He'll have gone
an
into it with eyes
osprey.
open, though, won't he?
Yeah, obviously, but
But
he's an
it's
osprey, and
yeah.
he's an osprey's legend. But he'll be sitting there as a Scarlet, and that puts him in an awkward position. I wish him the best. I hope he does come to the games, because it will be good to just kind of
Does he fancy a
maybe.
game?
Well, the Ospreys are down to two fit tens, so we may well find
We've got
himself.
one.
Let's not get into that now. Let's talk about off-field.
All right, okay. Right. So the new partnership will bring, according to the statements, immediate financial stability with House of Luxury assuming all current liabilities. That's the big one. That's the big one, financial stability. HOL strategic leadership and expertise to support commercial growth and help shape future strategy during unprecedented transition period for Welsh rugby. Something that we've moaned about on this podcast loads is Scarlet's social, Scarlet's marketing, Scarlet's like moving into the modern age, digital stuff. And we've spoken to people at the Scarlets who've confirmed that they've had to make some hard decisions behind the scenes, and that is one area of the business that they've not been able to spend. So hopefully we'd like to see some improvement there. I think, God, I was really looking forward to talking about the new kit. And I think that VX3's marketing of the new kit has been a big step up to what we've been used to lately. So hopefully more of that kind of style of content would be a big winner for me personally.
You can just do a whole pod about the kit, mate. You can do that as part of pre-season, and you can just sit there and say, "Wow, look at this," and you'll be in your element. You'll be happy. There'll be butterflies flying everywhere. It'll be amazing. You'll love it.
They say so they go on to say additional investment into fan experience, player pathways, and global partnerships. All very reassuring things that we want to hear. Leadership in navigating legal, structural, and competitive reform within Wales, within Welsh rugby. Timely, I think it's fair to say. I can't really add anything to that. It kind of speaks for itself. Share a shared strategy and vision with the Scarlets board to build long-term high-performance culture on and off the pitch and continue the club's significant contribution to the local economy, society, and culture throughout the West Wales region. So I think it's fair to say that there's a fair bit of posturing going on there. I think it's what I would say about this statement is that there's a lot of very deliberate choices of words. So I'll go on to read Simon Mudrack's statement, which is Scarlets is a rugby club that has been at the forefront of Welsh rugby and an integral part of the community of West Wales for 150 years. We are fiercely proud of what this club stands for and will continue to protect that legacy. The partnership is the start of a new era for our club, strengthening our position with new investments, new ideas, and shared ambition to return the Scarlets to the top of European rugby. The new deal with HOL puts this is the important bit, puts the Scarlets in control of its own future as we act boldly to move forward with a partner that will add significant resource and ambition. Crucially, it enables a future where the Scarlets will continue to play in Llanelli, retain Scarlet's strong identity, and represent the whole of West Wales with pride. Lee, I think it's fair to say some extremely deliberately chosen words in that statement.
Yeah, and the bit for me is I like how many times he says the word Scarlets. And this is something we've spoken about before, where there was this whole kind of thing about we need to go back to just being Llanelli. Scarlets is West Wales. And yes, it's based in Llanelli. Yes, it's got the heritage of that club. Yes, the people inside that club feel part of that club the same way the rest of us do. But Scarlets as a brand is bigger than Llanelli. That's why it's purposely chosen to be. It connects Llanelli with the rest of West Wales, which is something that didn't used to happen before professionalism. If you ask a lot of people in Welsh rugby in West Wales now, it still doesn't. There's still a disconnect between Scarlets and the clubs. Hopefully, within that statement, we mentioned player pathways. We mentioned West Wales quite a bit. And to be fair to the Scarlets, the last couple of seasons, they've started putting in mini academies and development academies throughout West Wales. I think there are 5 definitely three mini academies. It's starting to do all the good stuff that regions should do. But we're not going to see the benefits of that for another 5, 6, 10 years time. Yeah, on the pitch, you'll start to see the benefit of that in 5 or 10 years time. So to see somebody come in and go, do you know what? There's a lot of good rugby players in West Wales that, with a bit of investment in developing the pathway, let's give them a team that can be, an aspiration to put the effort in and play for. That to me is great. That's where we needed to be a long, long time ago. Um, I've still got questions. There are still. I'm just going to rattle off a couple of questions, mate, because I need to go.
Okay.
So questions for me. Okay, this is a deal that's been bubbling for a while. Like I said, there's been rumours about deals, and everyone thought it was Y11 and it was going to be a merger. So this deal has been bobbling along for a while. Why have we known about this and let all the other stuff with the WRU happen? Why has somebody not gone to the WRU and gone, don't worry about that. Look, we're going to be in a really strong financial position. This is what's happening. Bang. Again, I lay the blame at WRU for ignoring that and going, we're still going to go ahead with that.
It could have been complacency. Like I said, it could have been everyone assumed that the Scarlets would be the one to survive.
It could be, but that brings me to my next question is, so, earlier in the week, the rumours were that we were told that Scarlets was not going to be there in the future, and that's why the Ospreys are putting in the planning permission. So why do you let two massive clubs, let's not forget, Ospreys is a massive club as well. Why would you let them and us both go ahead with these developments if you were intending to not have both clubs in 2 years' time? It doesn't make sense. Again, WRU need to sort this out and say, do you know what? Hey, look, Cardiff are under WRU control. Dragons have secured their own ground and are actually looking quite good for a good season ahead. Scarlets have just secured some really good investment. Ospreys have just put themselves on a really sound footing with a strong proposal at St Helens to go forward. That's 4 strong teams that need to go forward. It doesn't make sense to me to allow the Scarlets to go forward with this. Yeah, this would have had WRU approval at some point. Why do that and say to the Ospreys, go ahead with St Helens, if you're then going to turn around and say neither of you are going to exist in 12 months, 18 months' time? It makes no sense to me. I'm confused. It doesn't help being an old person of very little brain. So, yeah, I've got a ton of other questions, but for me, more of them lie at the door of the WRU than they do with what we're talking about today. I do want to know the detail. I want to know who's taking on what role, what percentages, who's been bought out, whose shares have been bought out, so who's leaving the board, where does this leave us, and more importantly, can I get some free kit and tickets? That's the kicker for me. But there we go.
Yeah, just rattle off of. I know you need to go, mate. So some very quick bullet points.
Yeah.
So the statement ends with a bit of information about both House of Luxury and the Scarlets. Some key elements of the new partnership. The Scarlets' identity remains the same: badge, colours, stadium, and values. Supporter ownership principles continue with a direct relationship with the fans maintained. Hopefully, more on that next week. Cultural identity is protected, including championing Welsh language, community links, and club heritage. Parky Scarlets remains the home of the team with plans to grow stadium usage and fan engagement. So, obviously very positive. Everybody within the Scarlets, we're told, is very positive and very excited about this. And it's a good news story. There's been the reasons to be negative in the last week. But it's nice to end, honestly, from our point of view, just you and me personally, Lee, it's been a hell of a week. And to end it on this note came out of nowhere, didn't it?
It did. And, the bit I liked as well, today there was a message from I think it was yesterday actually, from the Scarlet Supporters Trust, that they absolutely hit the nail on the head. And this is something that we've been saying since we started RAP 3 seasons ago. It's lovely sitting at home and watching the telly. It's a lovely kind of feeling to sit there in your nice warm house. But what counts is getting off your arse and getting to the stadium and watching. And nothing beats that. Nothing beats that experience of sitting in a stadium with 8,000 other people, all cheering, all sharing that experience, and all kind of going forward together. And I think the statement from the Supporters Club yesterday was, "Yeah, let's pack the park." And I think every game we need to aim this season to have record crowds at every single game this season. And I take that on board myself. I say I've been through some illness over the last 2 years and I haven't been able to. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, to get to 3 or 4 games this year. And I'd suggest everyone does the same. Let's look at the calendar now and let's go, do you know what? This is the game I want to go to, and this is how I'm going to support the Scarlets.
Champions Cup rugby, guys. We're in a great pool as well. Great pool.
Yeah. But look at the diary now. Look at it and go, do you know what? I'm if I only go to one game this season, it's going to be that one, and go buy your tickets. Because that's what we need now. That's what the WRU are more scared about than anything else. Is we put 15,000. All right, we're not going to put 15,000. We put 14,000 people in that stadium every week, and the WRU cannot get rid of us. The Ospreys put 8,000 inside St Helens every week. They cannot get rid of them. They put 10,000 inside Cardiff every week. They cannot get rid of them. They put 8,000 in Rodney Parade every week. They cannot get rid of them. It is up to us as supporters to show the WRU how much we love our clubs and how much we want to go forward together. Save the "I hate you" for derby days, and the rest of the time go with "I can tolerate you and I can see why you want your club to be better." Take that forward, and I'm just going to finish with, make sure you tell the WRU FO. That's my bit. Right, I've got to go, mate. Thank you very much for your time today, Huw. Been good to catch up with you. It's been too long, my friend. I have no doubt that we will be doing this with some more of the Scarlets boys again next week, where a bit more information comes out. And who knows, we might actually get to speak to somebody from HOL as well. That would be really good to get them on and get some different perspectives on what we've been talking about. I think we're done, mate, are we?
I think we're done.
Lovely job.
Buy a jersey.
Before Huw buys them all. All the best, mate. Enjoy your rugby, everyone.
Cheers.
Ta-da. That was Saucepans and Sidesteps. Please rate, review and share on socials if you can, and join us again next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
I earned my degree online at Arizona State University. I chose to get my degree at ASU because I knew that I'd get a quality education, they were recognized for excellence, and that I would be prepared for the workforce upon graduating. To be associated with ASU, both as a student and alum, it makes me extremely proud, and having experienced the program, I know now that I'm set up for success. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.